Hey everybody, welcome to Kids Point Online and On Location. I'm here, right here, at my house in Miramichi, which is awesome, in my backyard. Got my bouncy castle. I had a big old block party here with my daughter and her friends and her cousins. It was a blast, and I hope you guys are all excited for a brand new month because we're talking all about friendship. Do you know what friendship means? Friendship is using your words and actions to show that others that you care. Yeah. Who here has a friend that you just love telling everything to? Raise your hand. Yeah, I remember I had a friend growing up, and 25 years later, we're still really good friends, which is awesome. Now, we're gonna be learning all about a guy named Solomon. And Solomon was a guy who God gave anything to. He asked him, Solomon, what do you want from me? Now, if God asked you a question like that, what would you say? Would you say, I want all the money in the world? Or I want to be able to play Fortnite all night long? What would you say? What do you think Solomon said? Solomon actually asked God for wisdom. Can you imagine that? Wisdom, which is awesome. We're gonna learn all about that in our story today. But before we get there, we're gonna sing a brand new song, and it's all about how Jesus is our best friend. Now, if you ever think, man, how am I gonna be a good friend? Sometimes I mess up, sometimes, my friend invites me over and I don't go, or I make excuses not to hang out with them, and I'm not the best friend all the time. But guess what? We've got a friend in Jesus, and he's the best example that teaches all about how to be the best friend to everybody around us. So let's sing and dance to a brand new song.
Jesus, you have been so faithful. Jesus, you have been so true. I will be forever thankful, 'cause I never had a friend like you. Help me to be who you've been to me, to everyone I see. Let us love one another with a love like no other yet. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love has always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other yet. That's the way you love us, God. You with me in the darkest valley. You with me on the mountaintop. I'm thankful that you never leave me, and that your love will never stop. Help me to be who you've been to me, to everyone I see. Let us love one another with a love like no other yet. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love has always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. I wanna thank you for being a friend who's always by my side. I wanna thank you for the way you love me all my life. I wanna thank you for being a friend who's always by my side. I wanna thank you for the way you love me all my life. Love one another with a love like no other yet. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love has always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God.
Awesome job singing, guys. Listen, in the book of Ecclesiastes, people believe that King Solomon was actually the author of this book. Yeah, and you might remember his dad, because you might not have heard of Solomon, but his dad was King David. Do you remember him? Yeah, he defeated a giant named Goliath, 9 feet tall, with a sling. It was amazing. And guess what? His son Solomon became king over Israel. And as I said earlier, God asked him, what do you want from me? I'll give you anything you wish for, whatever you want. And he asked for wisdom. So let's see what our story happens today.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. the epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verses 9 through 12.
The writer of Ecclesiastes tells us 2 people are better than 1. They can help each other in everything they do. Suppose either of them falls down, then the one can help the other one up. But suppose a person falls down and doesn't have anyone to help them up. Then feel sorry for that person. One person could be overpowered, but 2 people can stand up for themselves. And a rope made with 3 cords isn't easily broken. Let's see how this might play out in someone's life today. Jackson slid into the small school theater and took a seat in the back row and waited for Mr. Ray, the music and arts teacher. It looked like there was only one other kid who showed up to build the set for the 5th grade production of Charlotte's Web, Amal from Mrs. Wiseman's class. Hey.
Hi.
The 2 boys sat there in awkward silence until Mr. Ray showed up.
Ah, my set team. Fantastic. You guys know each other?
Kinda.
Different classes.
Well, you're gonna get to spend a lot of time together in the next 2 weeks as we build this set and get it painted. You guys got any experience with power tools?
Jackson could see Amal shift nervously in his seat.
No, I don't want to go on stage. Miss Wiseman said I could do this instead.
Don't worry, I'll teach you what you need to know. How about you, Jackson?
I'm pretty good with a hammer, and I didn't want to wear some silly animal costume.
The 2 boys basically ignored each other as Mr. Ray showed them how to measure each piece of lumber for him to cut, and then he helped them lay out the pieces in a large frame.
Now, this'll be one of the wall flats for the backdrop. We'll paint it as part of the barn. Amal, you want a hammer in these nails?
I guess.
Hold it more like this. Don't worry, you'll get it.
I'll do this side.
Jackson nailed together the entire flat while Amal still struggled with one corner.
What a klutz.
But it was a different story the next day when they started to paint.
This flat is part of our barn wall. I want you guys to paint a couple of chickens right there.
Amal grabbed a brush right away.
Oh, do you want them to look like real chickens or like cartoons?
Just give them your own personal spin.
Amal got to work right away, creating an entire palette of colors while Jackson was still trying to figure out which brush to pick.
Now, I've got to run down to the art room. Amal, why don't you show Jackson how to get started?
I don't really...
Mr. Ray smiled at them both.
He needs a hand. I think you guys will make a great team.
Mr. Ray hurried out. Jackson and Amal avoided each other's eyes.
Well, I'll sketch an outline for the chickens.
What do I do?
Just, fill it in.
I'm not really an artist.
Jackson dipped his brush randomly in the blue paint and frowned at Amal's outline.
Just have fun with it.
Jackson swiped the blue brush, outlining a wing.
I've never seen a blue chicken.
Oh.
It's great. It'll stand out.
Oh. Thanks.
By the time Mr. Ray returned, Jackson was surprised to discover that he and Amal had already painted 5 brilliant hued chickens. Mr. Ray grinned.
I've never seen a more flamboyant flock.
Jackson held out his fist to Amal, and Amal, surprised, gave him a fist bump.
Yep, see you boys tomorrow.
The next day, Amal showed up with a bruised finger on his left hand.
I can still paint with my right.
What happened?
Mr. Kunkel keeps putting me in as goalie during PE, and then I mess it up, and everyone on the team gets mad at me.
Do you stay on your toes? Keep your eye on the ball?
No. I just panic when the ball comes at me.
Look, I can show you some tips later in the parking lot, before my mom comes.
Really? That would be great.
And Jackson turned out to be a pretty good teacher because Amal managed to get 2 blocks during PE the next day. And when Jackson showed up to paint sets, stressed out by a math test, Amal grabbed his textbook.
Fractions?
Ow, I see all these weird numbers and I freeze up.
You just have to break it down like this.
With Amal's help, Jackson managed to stay calm during his test the next day. And by the middle of the next week, they had completed the entire backdrop for Charlotte's Web.
Well done. I knew you two would make a great team.
Amal's pretty okay.
Jackson's not too terrible.
Look, I know you guys are really different from each other, but it's boring if all your friends are just like you.
Together, they started gathering wood scraps and wiping off brushes.
Seriously, one of the wisest men to ever live pointed this out. Solomon.
Solomon?
Yep. He's this king in the Bible. He was a builder and an artist and super rich too. But for all the things he had, you know what he valued most? Friendship. He says it like this: 2 people are better than 1. They can help each other in everything they do.
On point.
Yeah.
Amal held out his fist, and Jackson tapped it with his own. Maybe Solomon and Mr. Ray were onto something.
You see, we should be trying to be friends with everybody. But here's something you have to think about. The people who you're closest to, the people who you tell everything to, the people who you hang out the most with, you have to ask one question. Does this friendship lead me to God? Because you can have people who you're really best friends with, you spend all the time with them, but maybe, just maybe, they make you do things that you shouldn't do, right? Or say things you shouldn't say. So it's so wise to make sure that the friends that you have are friends that you should be hanging out with. You see, our bottom line this week says this: choose your friends carefully. Choose your friends carefully. It's so important to do that because you might see that person in your class who maybe they're the coolest, or maybe they're like the best basketball player, or maybe they're the best dancer, or they're just really good at stuff and you want to be their best friend, but maybe they do things that they shouldn't, that they shouldn't be doing. Maybe you should be closest friends with them, right? We still love them, obviously, but you have to be careful. Make sure you choose your friends carefully. And remember, we have the best example of what a true friend is, right? Jesus is the best example of what a friend should look like. But maybe you're thinking, Pastor Nate, listen, I don't really have a close friend, or I have a hard time finding friends. But here's what you can do. This is really cool. You can actually ask God to help you find friends that you should be with. Some of my closest friends are friends that I had in college. So even later on, I went through elementary school, middle school, high school, but some of my closest friends are friends I met in college. And maybe you know the name Jeff Swartzentruber. Have you heard of that name? Yeah, he's actually one of my best friends, and now we actually get to work together, which is pretty cool. He's a pastor here at the church, which is awesome. And see, God gave me that friend, and God can give you friends too. So make sure you're choosing your friends carefully. So I know it looked a little bit different. Me being here, I'm not at the pirate ship, I'm not at the church, but I'm here on location. It's gonna look a little bit different like that moving forward. What I'm doing right now, this sort of like teaching stuff, this aspect of reminding what happened is gonna be happening during the week. Because on Sundays, we're gonna be having the SoSo Show. And you've probably all heard of it, you've all probably seen an episode, but on that show, I'm gonna be having a teaching element. Whether it's gonna be me or it's gonna be my special guest, they're gonna tell you a story. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a whole episode of the different acts and talents and Jeff and I there talking, but we're gonna have a segment where we're gonna do some teaching time. It's gonna be really, really cool. So that's gonna happen every Sunday at 9 o'clock. It's gonna go live. And during the week, you're gonna see me. I'll be here at my house, or I'll be on the streets, I'll be at the park, I'll be all over the place. Whoa! So I want you guys all to catch up on that. Listen guys, thanks so much for coming to Kids Point. I can't wait to see you guys next week. And don't forget, SoSo Show goes live September 26th at Miramichi site at 4 o'clock. I can't wait to see you guys there. Get your free tickets below. Click the link, go to the website, and I'll see you guys there in a few weeks. Woo! See you guys later. Bye!